Phoenician inscribed
Have you ever heard someone say the term hussy?
hussy, yeah.
Oh, okay. No, just when you said hussy, it sounded like hussy. My mom, my great grandmom, they used to say hussy. You hussy? And they just be saying it to be funny. Not, I don't know. I know it's not funny. I just think it's funny to me
Yeah.
because you're like hussy. Hussy means something completely different in regards to what they be using it
You,
for.
you
That's it.
never know with linguistics. That could be exactly where it came from. So,
Literally just had this conversation with the boys because they were like, "Mom, isn't have HAVE?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They were like, "Well, how come when we say behave, it's BEHAVE?" And I'm like, "You're right." And then they're like, "Cause shouldn't since it's a long A, it should be have." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, the English language is just throw." Like that's my explanation for all the words that I cannot explain as to why we say it a certain way. I'm like, because the English language is throwed. It's like, oh, okay, like that's helpful, but
hmm
still. That's true, right? Behave, and then but we'll be like have, and I don't know. That's interesting.
hmm Now, a Phoenician inscribed amulet of the 7th century BCE from Arslan Tash may refer to El. The text was translated by Rosenthal, 1969, page 658, as follows. An eternal bond has been established for us. Ashur has established it for us and all the divine beings, the majority of the group of all the holy ones, through the bond of heaven and earth forever. However, Cross, 1973, page 17, translates the text as follows. The Eternal One, Olam, has made a covenant oath with us. Asherah has made a pact with us and all the sons of El in the great council of all the holy ones, with oaths of heaven and ancient earth. And see, oaths were a big deal when it came to the Jewish. In the Old Testament, you'll hear a lot of references to God making an oath with us, and with that oath, we had to do certain things. You know what I mean? That's why they did their.
Even now,
hmm
like in a court of law and stuff like that, they take a, yeah, and like doctors take an oath. You take an oath, and the Hippocratic oath. Like oaths are just important in society currently as well.
hmm Like the animal sacrifices that they used to do was mostly because of an oath they had with the gods. You know, so that
The
was.
same with child sacrifices. You think
Um, I don't know about all that. It might be, but like
the Illuminati make you take an oath?
we 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 go we went through the Phoenicians and everything, you know, and to be honest, I mean, I've heard people who talk about history with the Phoenicians about child sacrifice, and I've heard a lot of people make comments about that, and like the Canaanites. I've heard people say that they do the same thing, and to be honest, there's no actual facts that took place. I mean, a lot of people made the
What child
statement.
sacrifices?
Yeah, but
There are though. Holocaust itself means the
no,
burning of children.
no. I
The
mean,
definition.
in archaeological finds, they've really found nothing concrete to prove it. I mean,
Oh, what about the kids under the churches and stuff like that?
no, I'm
The
talking
bones.
ritual sacrifices where,
Oh,
like, I mean, like if you go to churches, they'll like make this big impression of, you know, this horrible image of Baal with flames coming out of his mouth and little vases with babies in them and shit, you know. And um, there are certain things that have been found that could make it to where it was true, but as of date, they haven't found anything that was conclusive. You know what I
hmm.
mean? So, but a lot of that was perpetuated by the Greek and by the later Christians and everything, because
So you think all that stuff about like the slush fund and Alia Seeker and blood libel, all of
I
that stuff, you know, you think
I'm
that's just been
I'm
made up?
I'm talking like history. You know what I mean? I am not getting caught up in all that whenever I'm focusing on history, you know, because we can talk about that and that'd be great at another time, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying historically, there's been absolutely no evidence of it whatsoever. Okay, none. I mean, nowhere.
That you found, though.
No.
That you found.
I mean, I've heard the conversation from other people, freaking that are experts, archaeologists, saying they don't have the proof.
But that means they don't have the proof. That doesn't mean it has not been found. Means it has been yet to be discovered by them. Because, like, you can't really speak for, like, everyone who studies it.
Historically, you've got a lot of bad things. Like, you've got people who were killing each other and hating one another so bad that they would say some of the horriblest things about them. The Greeks were notorious for it.
They said the same about Phoenicians.
The Greeks would just downgrade the Phoenicians. They were horrible, the freaking Phoenicians. Then they turned around and started going after the Persians. You know, and it's like I said before, Persia was the first kingdom ever in human history to freaking abolish slavery. Okay? They believed that every human should be free. But the Greek didn't want you to know that. They wanted you to think that they were horrible and they were just the worst thing on the face of the planet, you know what I mean? And that's what they did with a lot of them. Like the Phoenicians, the only thing that they really had for the Phoenicians for the longest time was just information that was written down by the Greek or by the Christians, or, you know what I mean, passed on. But the original text, it's not there anymore because it was destroyed, you know. The Greeks hated them so much they tried to destroy everything they ever found that was Phoenician. So now we got freaking pottery with emblems on it that we have to try to interpret and figure out what that means. Like you see the pottery with the horse and chariots and everything on it. That's usually Phoenician. You know?
Oh wow! And then the Greek try to incorporate it as if it's their own.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They did that with the deities too. I mean, that's what they did, you know. And it just
kept mythology behind it to make it look like, oh well, this is not true, but really they were believing in these things, worshiping these things, and honoring and creating self in the image of these things. But then made them to be called mythology, which would seemingly be presented as something not to really believe in, just kind of for entertainment, storytelling type thing. And the whole time they were building their entire empire over accessing the power that worshiping and portraying.
Well, like.
That's crazy.
These deities we've been going over, okay, they actually started up near freaking the Caspian and the Black Sea, and they migrated downward into Greece, okay? So you had these Indo-Europeans that migrated downwards, and they made it to Greece, and with that, they came with the Indo-European belief systems. But as they traveled, the belief system changed because of time. You know what I mean? So by the time they made it to Greece, they were believing in somewhat the same belief system, but different. You know what I mean? So here you have these two societies that are believing in somewhat the same things, but they disagree. Kind of like you have different churches with different denominations today. But instead of killing each other off today, well, they're doing that too, I guess, but that's what they're doing. In history, they're fighting one another because they don't agree with the way each of them is teaching their beliefs, you know. And that's basically what that's all about. It's just...
So may the strongest deity win, I feel like, right? That's what happens, right? You just kill them, and then whoever lives, and that's how you find out who the winner is. It's like the mom with the baby. You know, they're splitting religion down the middle, and someone's saying, no, Let's not split it down the middle. Let's just be real about it. And if you're willing to be real about it, we're willing to let you live. They're like, no. We don't want to be real about it. We want to split it down the middle. We did this too, but you didn't really do this. No, we did. No, where's the originator? No. We're the originator. Oh, okay. Well, you want to split the baby down the middle. So if you're fine with killing the kid, kill the kid.
The crazy thing about it is like these people were killing one another and they were believing in the same belief. It came from the same origin.
Like God regardless, but they're like breaking it down to where like you can choose different things and different religions for, and like Arabs, they believe in God, but Muslims, they believe in God, but I'm attempting to swallow the carrot.
Yeah, nice.
They believe in God, but then they have Muhammad as their prophet, whereas Jesus is prophet. You know what I mean? But
it's the same God. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing about it. Like these belief systems are all connected to one another.
Until you get to the science people, then there's no God. But I mean, there's something that they have to believe in and say that there's no God. Because how can you deny something that does not exist? Because then you have no familiarity. Yeah. Anyway. Here and there. I was just saying, like, I agree. I get it. I mean, it makes sense. I think that's cool. Like,
you're a little bit farther away from the mic. I can
kill them. I feel like I like that idea. I think that concept is great. You know what I mean? Like, not really the fighting part. I mean, like, but I feel like to stop the fighting, there would have to be some sense of integrity, which obviously was lacked, and so they killed people. And it's the same thing now, like you were saying. Like, it's literally the same exact thing that's happening right now. And eventually now, as we're seeing with Israel and Palestine, and we saw with Russia and Ukraine, and it's still going on, but all the other wars too, Iran, Iraq, all of this, like, basically the killing is here now. The killing comes, and then, you know what I mean, fight it out for the top spot. I like it. I mean, I don't like it, but I mean, it's what has to be done type of thing, right?
Well, I mean, if people don't learn from their mistakes, then they're bound to do it over again. So that's
they wouldn't be fighting. Yeah, they would have. Yeah, they would. They would have knew what was going on back then. They wouldn't be fighting now. They wouldn't choose that path.
Well, even today, they're still doing the same old thing. It's the same thing, but a different time period. You know,
because they didn't even learn from their mistakes. Why do you think that is, though? Let's talk about that for a second. What do you think is so difficult to watch people die and say, you know what, I'm gonna do the same exact thing again and kill some more people, but then cry about it and pray to God all of a sudden to save us and stop these kids from dying? And it's like no one cared. Like no one cared before, and now why? Like it's the same cycle. So how do you stop something like that? What do you think is the real problem?
I think that people forget. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about long term either. I'm talking about like short term. People forget the pain that happened 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
You think people remember the pain from 9/11? I often feel like we neglect stuff quickly. Like we live in a microwave, immediate gratification. We want, robots to do the work. We don't want to go out there and dig up a hole. We're going to send something else to do the hard work, And that's what they call evolution. But yet, if we've evolved, how come we're still fighting and killing each other? I mean, if we've actually evolved, because there was at one point that none of that was happening. But we don't talk about that part because we don't believe that to be true, because everything that we read in our books tell us differently. So I was just wondering, how do we change it?
It's not just, if people would read the books, they would understand that this shit's happened.
Well, they know it happened, though. They know it happened. You think that people don't know there's been wars?
They choose to ignore it, okay? That's why the average person has the ability of reading for no longer than 7 minutes, 4 minutes. That's the longest most people are willing to read today. And the reason why is because they freaking are stuck on these internet and they can just click and click and click.
But you still have to read there too. I don't feel maybe they're just not engaged with the material.
We're reading, okay? We're reading, but like the average person on the internet doesn't read. The average person that gets on the internet goes to Facebook and they play Facebook games and they don't even touch their keyboard.
Check statuses. They have to check the status. You got to read the status. Does that not count for anything? If you're reading everyone's status, if you sit on our
Look
internet,
how long they are. I mean,
look,
they're
but that's what I'm saying. Technically, you're reading longer than 7 minutes. You're not reading certain information. I mean, the information you're reading is trash. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. But I know people that'll sit and read every tabloid from front to back. That takes way longer than 7 minutes. It's just what they're reading is garbage.
I
And you know what I
mean,
mean?
each comment is what, maybe 2 minutes, not even a minute long, maybe 2 minutes.
Oh, and now, and see, if you're the type of person like me, if I'm looking for something, I'm going to read everybody's comments. I'm probably going to their profile. I'm probably reading their stuff. I'm just going to do that a little bit. I'm the catalyst for private accounts. Shout out to me. And I mean, like, you know what I mean? And it is what it is. But I'm saying we're still reading. You know what I'm saying? You were saying the average. So that's kind of misleading. We're not reading the right stuff.
Check this out. They tell you when you make a freaking blog, okay, don't make a blog any longer than 15 minutes. Once you make one that's longer than a 15-minute read, the reader pretty much loses their attention. They were saying that 12 years ago.